What if I told you that the man who sat on the throne of China's first great unified empire was not a strong ruler, not a visionary leader, but a young naive puppet whose every move was controlled by a ruthless schemer? And what if I told you that this single man's 3-year reign turned the mighty Qin dynasty, built by the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, through decades of war and conquest, into a collapsed burning ruin in less than 1,095 days? Today, we re-diving deep into the full shocking story of Qin Shi Huhai, the last real emperor of Qin, the man who single-handedly presided over the death of China's first imperial dynasty. This is not some wild myth or folktale. Every detail you about to hear is backed by strict mainstream historical records, no fake stories, no exaggerated drama, just cold, hard history about power, betrayal, and how one terrible reign destroyed an entire empire. Let's start at the very beginning. In 210 BCE, during the 5th inspection tour of Qin Shi Huang, the man who unified China, built the Great Wall, standardized writing and currency, and created the first centralized empire in Chinese history. By this time, the first emperor was in his late 40s, his health failing rapidly. After years of stress, harsh governance, and futile searches for immortality, he was traveling with a small group of key officials, the powerful Prime Minister, Li Si, the trusted eunuch, and Imperial Secretary, Zhao, and his 18th son, Huhai. Of all his more than 20 sons, Huhai was the only one allowed to join this tour. Why? Because Huhai was young, easily influenced, and completely devoted to his father, never questioning his orders, never challenging his decisions, unlike the first emperor's eldest son, Fusu, who had openly criticized the emperor's harsh laws and cruel punishments. Fusu was a wise popular prince, loved by the army and the court. He was the clear, rightful heir to the throne. The first emperor knew this, and as he lay dying at the Dune palace platform, he wrote a secret edict, ordering Fusu to return to Xiangyang, the capital, to oversee his funeral and take the throne. This edict was sealed with the imperial seal, and given to Zhao to deliver to Fusu, who was stationed with General Meng Tian at the northern border, leading 300,000 troops against the Sheng. But Zhao had other plans. He was a man with a grudge and a hunger for absolute power. Years earlier, he had committed a crime and was sentenced to death by Meng Tian's brother Meng Yi, a top judge. Only the first emperor's mercy saved his life. Zhao hated the Meng family, and he knew that if Fusu became emperor, Meng Tian and Meng Yi would hold even more power, and Zhao would be ruined, maybe even killed. But Huhai was young, ignorant of state affairs, and had been Zhao's student in law and politics. Zhao could control him like a puppet. So Zhao made a choice that would change Chinese history forever. He hid the first emperor's edict and decided to put Huhai on the throne instead of Fusu. First, Zhao went to Huhai. Let's imagine that conversation recorded in historical texts, word for word. Zhao said the first emperor has passed away, and he has left no edict to make all his sons kings, only an order for Prince Fusu to return. When Fusu arrives, he will become emperor, and you, my young lord, will have not even an inch of land. What will you do? Huhai, naive and loyal at first, replied, that is the way of heaven. A son should obey his father's will. I have no right to question it, but Zhao pressed harder, whispering, great power and the throne are in your hands right now. You can rule the world, or you can be ruled by others. Think carefully. The idea of being emperor, of having unlimited power, was too much for the young Huhai. He hesitated, then nodded, agreeing to join the conspiracy. Next, Zhao had to win over Li Si, the most powerful man in the court, besides the emperor. Li Si was a brilliant statesman, the architect of many of Qin's greatest reforms, but he was also afraid of losing his power. Zhao went to Li Si and said the first emperor's edict for Fusu is hidden. Only you, me and Huhai know. If Fusu becomes emperor, he will trust Meng Tian, who has won great military victories. Meng Tian will replace you as prime minister, and you will lose everything, your title, your land, your family's safety. But if we make Huhai emperor, you will remain prime minister, and your power will be secure. Li Si struggled with his conscience. He knew Fusu was the rightful heir, but he feared losing his position more than he valued justice. In the end, greed and fear won. Li Si agreed to join the conspiracy. The three men had formed an unholy alliance, a scheming eunuch, a corrupt prime minister, and a weak prince, ready to steal an empire. Their first move was to cover up the first emperor's death. The journey back to Xiangyang was long, and the emperor's body was starting to rot in the warm weather. To hide the smell, they ordered carts of salted fish to be placed next to the imperial carriage, so everyone would think the stench came from the fish, not a dead emperor. Then, they forged 2 imperial edicts using the first emperor's seal. The first edict named Huhai as the new crown prince. The second edict accused Fusu of being unfilial and Meng Tian of being disloyal, ordering both men to commit suicide immediately. When the fake edict arrived at the northern camp, Fusu was heartbroken. He read the words, tears in his eyes, and prepared to kill himself. Meng Tian tried to stop him, saying, "The emperor is on a long tour. He has not named a crown prince. He sent me to guard the border with 300,000 troops, and he put you in charge of me. This is a great trust. How can you believe one fake edict and kill yourself?" This must be a trick, but Fusu was a man of virtue and loyalty. He said, "A father orders his son to die. A son cannot refuse. If I disobey, I am unfilial." With that, he drew his sword and killed himself. Meng Tian refused to commit suicide, so he was arrested and imprisoned. Later, Zhao Gao ordered Meng Tian and his brother Meng Yi to be killed, eliminating the greatest threat to his power. When the group finally returned to Xianyang, they announced the first emperor's death and crowned Huhai as the second emperor of Qin Ershi. Huhai was only 21 years old, completely unprepared to rule an empire of millions. And from day one, he did exactly what Zhao Gao told him to do. His first order as emperor was to continue all of the first emperor's harsh policies: heavy taxes, endless, forced labor for the Great Wall, the mausoleum of the first emperor, and the unfinished Yipang Palace. He made the laws even harsher, increasing punishments for small crimes, so that people were arrested and killed in the streets every day. The people of Qin were already suffering after years of strict rule. Now, under Huhai, their suffering became unbearable. But Zhao Gao was not done. He told Huhai, "Your brothers and many ministers doubt your right to the throne. They think you stole it, and they will rebel against you. The only way to keep your power is to kill all your rivals, your brothers, your sisters, and every minister who does not obey you." Huhai, terrified of losing his throne, agreed without a second thought. What followed was one of the bloodiest purges in ancient Chinese history. Huhai ordered 12 of his brothers to be publicly executed in the market of Xianyang. 6 more brothers and 10 sisters were crushed to death with heavy chariots in Duyu. Another 3 brothers were locked in a palace and forced to kill themselves. One brother, Prince Gao, saw that death was coming for everyone, so he begged Huhai to let him bury himself alive next to the first emperor's mausoleum, just to save his wife and children. Huhai agreed. In just a few months, the entire imperial family was almost wiped out. Huhai killed his own flesh and blood to keep a throne he never deserved. Next, Zhao Gao turned on the loyal ministers. He accused Right Prime Minister Feng Kuji, General Feng Jie, and other honest officials of treason. They were either killed or forced to commit suicide. Now, only Li Si remained as a threat to Zhao Gao's power. Zhao Gao knew Li Si was still popular, so he plotted to destroy him. He told Huhai that Li Si was angry about losing real power and was planning to rebel with his son. Huhai, who trusted no one but Zhao Gao, ordered Li Si to be arrested and tortured. Li Si was beaten until he falsely confessed to treason. In 208 BCE, Li Si was executed in the cruelest way possible. He was cut in half at the waist in public, and his entire family, 3 generations, were killed. The man who helped Huhai steal the throne was now dead, eliminated by the very schemer he had allied with. With Li Si dead, Zhao Gao became the middle prime minister, the most powerful man in Qin. He controlled every part of the government, and Huhai was nothing but a figurehead, spending all his time drinking, feasting, and enjoying pleasure, while Zhao Gao made all the decisions. To test who in the court was loyal to him, and who was loyal to the emperor, Zhao Gao pulled off one of the most famous tricks in history, the point at a deer, and call it a horse incident. One day he brought a deer to the imperial court, and said to Huhai, "Your Majesty, I present you with a fine horse." Huhai laughed and said, "Prime Minister, you mistaken, this is a deer, not a horse." Then, Zhao Gao turned to the other officials. Some were scared of Zhao Gao and said it was a horse. Some were honest and said it was a deer. After the court meeting, Zhao Gao ordered all the officials who had said it was a deer to be arrested and killed. From that day on, no one in the court dared to oppose Zhao Gao. Huhai even began to doubt his own mind, thinking he was crazy for seeing a deer instead of a horse. He withdrew further into his palace, leaving Zhao Gao to rule the empire completely. By 209 BCE, the people of Qin had had enough. They could not take the heavy taxes, the endless labor, the cruel laws, and the endless killings. In Daxiang, a group of 900 poor farmers were being sent to guard the northern border. Heavy rain delayed their journey, and according to Qin law, if they arrived late, they would all be executed. They had no way to escape death, so two men, named Chen Sheng and Wu Guang, stood up and said, if we run, we die. If we rebel, we die. We might as well die fighting for our freedom. They raised the flag, and thousands of farmers joined them. The first great peasant uprising in Chinese history had begun. The rebellion spread like wildfire. Former nobles of the 6 states that Chen had conquered saw their chance and rose up too, declaring their old kingdoms independent. Xiang Yu, a fierce general from Chu, and Liu Bang, a former low-ranking official, led armies against Qin. The entire empire was on fire. Huhai and Zhao Gao did nothing to stop the rebellion at first. Zhao Gao hid the truth from Huhai, telling him these are just a few bandits. The local soldiers will catch them soon. He arrested and killed any messenger who brought bad news about the uprising. Huhai believed him still living in his palace of pleasure, completely unaware that his empire was falling apart. When the truth finally could not be hidden, Huhai was shocked and angry. He blamed Zhao Gao for everything, shouting, "You told me there were no rebels. Now half the empire is lost." Zhao Gao was terrified. He knew Huhai might kill him to save himself. So Zhao Gao decided to strike first. He would kill the emperor and put a new puppet on the throne to save his own life. In 207 BCE, Zhao Gao sent his son-in-law Yan Le with hundreds of soldiers to attack the Wang Yi palace where Huhai was staying. The soldiers broke into the palace, killing all the guards. Huhai was trapped alone, with only one loyal eunuch by his side. He turned to the eunuch and cried, "Why didn't you tell me the truth about Zhao Gao and the rebels earlier?" The eunuch replied, "If I had told you the truth, I would have been killed long ago. You refused to listen to anyone but Zhao Gao." Huhai begged Yan Le for mercy. He said, "I will give up the throne. Let me be a king of a small land, or even a marquis. I just want to live with my wife and children." Yan Le refused. He said, "I am following Prime Minister Zhao's orders to execute you for your crimes. You have no choice." Huhai, the emperor, who once ruled all of China, the man who killed his own family and destroyed an empire, had no way out. He took his sword and killed himself at just 23 years old. His reign had lasted only 3 years. Within months, the Qin dynasty was completely destroyed. Liu Bang entered Xianyang without a fight, and the last ruler of Qinziying surrendered. The first great empire in Chinese history was gone, destroyed by a puppet emperor and a ruthless schemer. Let us take a moment to understand what this means. Qin Shi Huang spent his entire life unifying China, building institutions that would shape Chinese history for thousands of years. His empire was strong, centralized, and powerful. But in just 3 years, Huhai's weakness, Zhao Gao's greed, and endless cruelty turned that great empire into dust. Huhai was not an evil genius. He was a weak, naive young man who was manipulated from start to finish. He never understood what it meant to rule, never cared about the people, never thought about the future of the empire. He only cared about keeping his throne and enjoying pleasure, and in doing so, he destroyed everything his father had built. This is the tragic true story of Qin Shi Huhai, the puppet emperor who doomed the Qin dynasty, a story of power, betrayal, and how one terrible reign can end an empire. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient China, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.